Super suits are crucial to the identity of a superhero. Where Bruce Wayne himself can look a lot like Clark Kent, once he throws on that bat suit, you know who that is. But once in a while, a suit will receive a change that is just so iconic and completely out of the blue. I'm Adam Andrews, and today on Top 10 Nerd, it's the best superhero redesigns we never saw coming. In at number 10 is infamous Iron Man. Of all the things to happen to the character of Dr. Doom, becoming the new Iron Man was not at all what I expected. After the events of Secret Wars and reality being brought back to normal, Victor Von Doom was unsatisfied with his life. He decided to switch his morality and try to serve and help others instead of being a power-seeking villain all the time. Doomsday took on a bit of a mentor in Tony Stark, whom he had always respected, but when Tony Stark was put into a coma, Doom decided to take his place as the infamous Iron Man, which was a great reason to give us a Dr. Doom in a highly advanced suit of Iron Man's Model Prime Mark 51 armor. The armor was retrofitted into Doom's style, going from the red and gold to the gray, green, and light blue of Dr. Doom, and it's probably my favorite look ever for an Iron Man armor. But alongside the capabilities of the Iron Man armor, Doom was still able to access his magical abilities. So Iron Man with Doom's magic is basically what we have here. To make things even better, Doom's intellect and sorcery were near their peaks during this period in time. So he is truly an incredibly powerful hero. One of the ways Doom went about saving the world was using his knowledge of the criminal underworld from when he was a criminal to arrest a large gathering of villains in one big move. These villains were all gathered to figure out what they were gonna do now that Doom has switched sides, and then Doom just busts in through the roof and takes down heavy hitters such as the Wizard, the Wrecking Crew, the Hood, and Jigsaw all in one go. So cool. Number 9, Cassandra Cain Batgirl. If we want to really get into Batgirl designs that will knock your socks off, we don't have to look any farther than Cassandra Cain. Cassandra is the daughter of David Cain and Lady Shiva, two assassins who raised and trained Cassandra to become a perfect warrior. She became the new Batgirl in Batman No Man's Land, and her costume was such a drastic change compared to other Batgirls of the past. If I was walking in the streets of Gotham and I saw someone dressed like this, I would just move. Like to a different city altogether. I would be gone. Going from the almost friendly seeming outfits of Barbara Gordon's Batgirl costume to this dark and brooding costume with basically no human facial features, it's so fitting for her and her character. It's intimidating, it's intense, and if I was a Gotham City criminal who came face to face with this in the middle of the night, my life would flash before my eyes. Hey guys! I just want to say a big thank you for being such a great community. We appreciate the thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Make sure to let me know your favorite villain redesigns, and be sure to like and subscribe if you wanna. But moving on to number 8, it's Nightwing. Dick Grayson was the first ever sidekick to step out from under the shadow of his mentor and become his own genuine certified superhero. First appearing as Nightwing after leaving the Bat family in Tales of the Teen Titans Volume 1 number 44, his costume was honestly not too bad. Yes, it was goofy for sure, don't get me started on the collar, but with the gold wing design, it was honestly pretty cool. Now while the suit has had a large number of variations over the years, I'd be a fool if I didn't say that the blue V costume that debuted in 1996 isn't the best suit that character has ever worn. Ever since this came out, it's just stuck, with later suits just being variations of this classic look. His newest DC Rebirth suit is a close second, and it is basically just a slightly updated version of this one, which makes this the real turning point for Nightwing's costumes. The simple blue bird across the chest and into the arms mixed with the rest of the suit being black. Yes, it's a simpler look, but one that ultimately works better than any other one. Number 7, Chasm. Talking about Ben Reilly in terms of his costumes is basically just talking about more spider suits. That's always been a bit of an issue with his design and his character overall. He needs to separate himself from Spider-Man and Peter Parker to have his own identity, but the problem is he's a clone. His powers, face, and physique are essentially the same as Peter Parker. When Ben isn't actually standing in as Spider-Man himself, he is the Scarlet Spider, and that suit is awesome. No doubt in my mind, it's got spunk. But more recently, Ben Reilly has developed a little bit more as a character, and during a climactic fight with Spider-Man, Ben lets himself be submerged in a psychoreactive polymer and loses the fight. Later, he is recovered, but the polymer had mutated him. Now, he goes by the name Chasm, signifying the way he feels without his missing memories, and taking on a purple suit with black symbols and a light greenish blue accent slash gas things. The suit is almost almost reminiscent of a symbiote-style look, which are also Spider-Man-like, but it's wholly something of its own. The psychoreactive goo gave him an offensive spider sense and some slight energy manipulation abilities, displaying the capability to forge solid light weapons of his own energy. It's so cool. Number 6. The Man Without Fear. Daredevil is a hero who has gone through a few distinctive looks. Arguably, his most iconic was when he went from the yellow and red motif to just a straight up red devil. It was just right. But after being possessed by a demonic entity, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, needed time to recover and rediscover himself away from his home, and he left the defense of Hell's Kitchen to someone you might not expect, T'Challa. After being ambushed by Dr. Doom, who put T'Challa in a coma, another had to take up the role of Black Panther. T'Challa lost his enhanced abilities, and after the events of Doom War, he rendered all of Wakanda's vibranium inert. So, no powers, no vibranium, and no longer the ruler of Wakanda. How about a vacation to Hell's Kitchen? Enter the Black Panther Man Without Fear story. As the now depowered street-level defender of Hell's Kitchen, T'Challa had to rely on the basics such as his body armor, homemade gadgets, and his fighting ability. This suit doesn't really display its own usefulness, like previous Black Panther suits that had a whole host of technological upgrades. Instead, the suit displays the usefulness and ingenuity of T'Challa himself, while also looking both appropriately street level, yet inspired by T'Challa's Wakandan royal background. Number 5. Superior Spider-Man. Similar to the way Dr. Doom became Iron Man, when Doc Ock took over the body of Peter Parker in the Superior Spider-Man story arc, he was not against a little redesign, and man was it fantastic. The changes made to the suit are somehow both subtle yet obvious. The classic blue section of the suit was changed to black, the symbols on the suit were redesigned, and Octavius added retractable talons to the hands and feet to use in combat. And both the biggest and again most subtle change came in the eyes of the suit that changed shape ever so slightly to look a bit more like goggles, alluding to the goggles that Doc Ock wears. Speaking of alluding to the villain's look, eventually mechanical arms were added to the suit as well that were so much more helpful in combat. Spider Octopus gave an edge to the regular spider suit that just works so well for this era of the character, but it also added some significant upgrades. Carbonadium plating, enhanced lenses, upgraded wrist web shooters, web wings, nerve hacking tech, and frickin' lasers. What? Number 4. The Black Suit. Spider-Man is showing up twice on this list, and it's for a very good reason. Spider-Man's red and blue classic suit is extremely iconic, and I don't think anyone thinks it's bad. The Sam Raimi version of that suit is beautiful. But the black spider suit that appeared in Secret Wars? Oh baby, that suit was something else. If you tell me that you don't like this one, you're a liar, and 2, we can't be friends. Sorry. This suit was actually designed by a guy called Randy Schuler for a contest Marvel had, and they paid him $220 for it. $220 for one of the most fan-beloved Spider-Man suits. $220 for what eventually would become one of Spider-Man's greatest villains and eventually one of Marvel's most popular anti-heroes. This is the best investment Marvel has ever made. The black symbiote suit was so great and so popular that Marvel even came up with excuses for Peter to get a regular cloth version of the suit made by his girlfriend Black Cat. That wasn't a brain-consuming symbiote and just had the benefit of stealth, intimidation, and looking sexy. Damn. Number 3. Catwoman. The history of Catwoman's look is a long and honestly incredibly odd story. In the beginning, Selena Kyle was just a woman in a green dress that was also a thief. She eventually donned an orange costume with a cape, and eventually she added a terrifying full cat face mask in the 1940s Batman number 3. Now over time, she would go through a number of looks with a purple gown, which eventually became a bodysuit, and eventually a black bodysuit that connected to her cat-shaped mask. And we can never forget the leather Tim Burton Catwoman costume. That was mwah. But speaking to her character and the actual occupation she has as a thief, no design matched up to the suit created by Darwin Cook, created for the character after the end of her first ongoing series. A leather suit which had a more practical vibe was matched with a pair of cat eyes goggles, and it became what is arguably the character's most popular costume, with later redesigns all primarily retaining the key elements of this suit. Number 2. Wolverine's cowl. How could we see it coming. It was one of the first redesigns for the character, and it was so iconic that he hasn't really deviated from the look ever since. When Wolverine was introduced as the Canadian superhero, his design philosophy was to just make him look like an animal. So yeah, the whiskers and pointed ears really helped to emulate that. But once he became one of the key players in the giant-sized X-Men in 1975, a redesign was needed. Almost everything about his look stayed the same, except that now his cowl contained no whiskers, thank God, and his pointed ears became quite a bit larger. The change was so simple yet so necessary, and so iconic that it hasn't really changed since. And this was his first ever redesign. Number 1. Nipple suit. Batman relies heavily on his tech. His Batsuit is probably the most important of that tech. It's highly advanced in terms of super suits, and it's constantly being improved and added to. Sometimes it gets a tech overhaul to battle a villain, like a zebra suit. Sometimes it will get a redesign to better personify where he is in his life, like the Zur-En-Arrh Batsuit. But of all the suits donned by Bruce Wayne, one stands above the rest, and all it took was the addition of a pair of anatomic nipples. In both Batman Forever from 1995 and Batman and Robin from 1997, the director Joel Schumacher decided that he wanted his heroes to emulate human perfection, and so he was inspired by statues of Greek gods and heroes. This is why both of his Batsuits worn by Val Kilmer and George Clooney have a shiny, muscle-adorned physique and, of course, nipples. It's really a very small detail, and if it wasn't for a close-up shot of just the chest and its extremely prevalent nipples, I might not have even noticed. But when you realize those nipples are there, you realize that no other superhero has nipples built into their costume. Iconic. Nice. And there you have it. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you all on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerd!